Big news happened later afternoon as the earlier this afternoon. The Raiders have hired former Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll as their next head coach. Let's get to know Pete Carroll. If you know Pete Carroll, you should know already. But how about his entire career? All right. He started as a coach in graduate assistant in Pacific in 1973 to 76, for then becoming a graduate assistant again in Arkansas in 1977. He went to Iowa State as a secondary coach in 1978, Ohio State's secondary coach in 1979. Before then, he transitioned to North Carolina State's defense coordinating job in 1980 to 82. Back in Pacific, where he was a graduate assistant earlier, but now becoming the defense coordinator in 1983. He began his NFL journey as a defensive backs coach in 1984, for then going to Minnesota as the defensive backs coach in 1985 to 89. Then becoming the Jets defensive coordinator in 1990 to 93, for then taking the head coaching job in 1994. After one season with the Jets as the head coach, he went to San Francisco, becoming the defensive coordinator in 1995 to 96. Then took back getting another head coaching job in New England in 1997 to 1999. But this is where the big reason why Pete Carroll is named as the head coach of the Raiders. He was the USC's head coach in 2001 to 2009. He, of course, USC won the national championship in 2004. Of course, 7-time Pac champions under Pete Carroll. And then he took the Seahawks job plus the vice president of football operations 2010 to 2023, as well as still becoming an advisor with the Seahawks in 2024. As we mentioned, yes. What does this hire mean? Let's talk about it. This hire is massive for the Raiders. Now, here's my honestly, for me, the 72-year-old head coach going to Las Vegas to be the head coach, I've been talking about this for days. Of course, on the sports news, that I think Pete Carroll would actually take this job because you're gonna go to an organization that they need somebody who's gonna bring in the culture, and plus, he's a winner. I already mentioned he's won a national championship with USC. He's a 7-time Pac-12 champ, a Super Bowl champ with the Seahawks, and he's a future Hall of Famer. So that speaks the resume for Raiders fans, and I cannot wait because not only we have Pete Carroll with the Raiders, but we have the rivalry for the first time ever since Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll, who met each other in the NFC West between the 49ers and Seahawks. That rivalry has been renewed with the Chargers and the Raiders. This is going to be awesome. And not only that, Andy Reid, future Hall of Famer, Coach Hall of Famer, Sean Payton, who's won a Super Bowl and he's a future Hall of Famer, Jim Harbaugh, who's won a national championship and he's a future Hall of Famer, and then Pete Carroll, Super Bowl champ, national champ, and a future Hall of Famer. The NFC West is going to be wild with those 4 legendary coaches. What it's going to be for the Raiders, first, we'll get to that. But this division, with the coaches I already mentioned, who's going to win the division? Now we're going to be really interesting in this one. All right, back to the business part. What is the first thing Pete Carroll will be doing? Well, assigning the offensive coordinating job. Now, they're going to probably look at guys like Shane Waldron, the former Bears offensive coordinator. Of course, he would reunite with Pete Carroll, who they know each other well, back in Seattle. That's something that we could keep an eye on. Clint Kubiak, as I mentioned, Bobby Slowick. Maybe outside names like Han Fergley, who's the Lions O-lines coach, Josh McCown, quarterbacks coach for the Vikings. Wherever they go, I do expect them to find an offensive coordinator and then bringing in a defensive-minded coordinator to become the DC. But overall, the big news, of course, earlier this afternoon, the Las Vegas Raiders have hired the 72-year-old and former Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll. If you have not seen the Liam Cohen officially announced as the Jaguars head coach, check that in my channel. Again, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.